Hello everybody, Emperor Scram here. Welcome back to another video of me talking with my hands. Today what we are going to be talking about is how the more patient you are, the more time you waste. Now, that is a loaded statement, so please join me as I explain myself. So what I mean by the more patient you are, the more time you waste, I actually heard that today and I thought it was quite profound. I heard it from Mrs. Mochis, my Mrs. Mochis, and I feel it closely correlates with the Roman or Latin saying memento mori, to remember that you will die. And first of all, I'd like to point out it's an obvious thing, you know, to not procrastinate, to use your time wisely, to remember that you'll die. But just as I talked about in the last video, life is all about being a forever student, perpetually learning, perpetually bettering yourself. And it is something that is very important in life to always do in life, is to take a step back and assess yourself. And sometimes we forget the most fundamental things that made us who we are. And when I heard that, I immediately thought to myself, well, if you're living well, if you're doing good, then that isn't a waste of time. And so that made me step back and think, well, what is a waste of time? What am I doing and what can I do? That helped reassess how I could use my virtue, or the belief of my virtue, to trick myself into thinking that what I'm doing is right when it's not actually right, that it's a waste. Like for instance, a very important thing that I have learned throughout my life is that you have to acknowledge that you yourself are a rational being, but also how that is forever our greatest advantage. It can also be our greatest deceiver, because something that I have learned, that if you can't believe that you are the greatest thing or the smartest thing, because then the thing that will fool you the most is yourself. You know, if you think you're almighty and all rational, even your irrational thoughts you will believe are rational. And then that's how you waste time. That's how you believe that what you think would be patience for the right things is patience for the wrong thing. But since you believe that you are the most rational thinking being, that you trick yourself into wasting time. And time that is not spent living well is time not well spent. And I think that is something everybody needs to remember and ponder, that we get so consumed and so busy on merely living, on merely being alive, on getting through, that we forget to live well. And there's remembering you will die, but also remember that you're here right now, that to live, but to not only die well, you must live well. If I had 2 mangoes, I would talk with both mangoes. I just threw some stuff together here just to help me talk with my hands, so it's not just my hands. Anyways, and when I say that the more patient you are, the more time you waste, that's not me condemning patience, but rather it makes you take a step back. It makes you reconsider things, where it's like, let's say if you grew up in America, you're waiting for a barber, and it has a little kid just sitting there patiently, and it just says patience is a virtue, you know, and patience is a virtue. But then you get so accustomed to that your patience is duped into being patient for the wrong things, you know? And it reminds me of that one Tibetan proverb where no, I believe the Dalai Lama said it. I'll put the credit up there. I have all my quotes stored in my noggin. But if you could do something about something, don't worry about it. If you can't do something about something, or if you can't do anything about something, don't worry about it. There's no use in worrying, right? But if you can do something about it, make sure you're actually doing something about it. Make sure you're actually doing that thing, and don't trick yourself into being complacent. Don't trick yourself into being complacent. This is what this is all about, complacency. You don't want to be complacent, because if you always gotta keep yourself on your toes, or remind you and remind yourself that time's always ticking. And obviously it's simple enough to say not to procrastinate, but also never forget that you're human too. We all make mistakes, and that time is always waiting for us to slip up and give a little bite in our ass. And what I want to not just demand you, rather I'll demand it of myself, and you take whatever you like, whatever message you like, or if you're just listening. But what I will demand of myself is that I'm patient in the right things, in accumulation, like what I spoke of in the last video of accumulating knowledge, where I will be patient in the accumulation and the product of such accumulation of physical activity, of learning, of all my discipline, whatever habits that are helpful to me. I will be patient there in that accumulation, like I've said like 5 times right now. But also I have to employ all that. I can't. It's easy to be complacent in that mindset, because you're so busy on building yourself up that you forget to do something with the things you have built. You know, you forget to live well. And having those healthy habits, that is very like, obviously that's one of the best things you could do for yourself. But what I mean is, it's like you could have read 1,000 books in your life, but if you never lived one page, what's the point? If you trained throwing thousands of punches, but you never actually went in the ring to go land one, like, what was the point? You know, that at that point it becomes discipline for the sake of discipline, you know. But you have to remember that it's patience for the sake of living well, discipline for the sake of living well, because you have to demand yourself to live well, because that is the only true way to live, so that you could celebrate and honor your life. And what I ask of myself, and hopefully a positive message that you will take from this, is that you demand yourself to live well, because you owe it to yourself to honor the special life that you live, and to celebrate the special person you are by living well. You don't want to live just to suffer. I believe that if we all just settle for mediocre, to live just to suffer, I believe we will all have failed. And I don't want us all to fail. I want us all to live happily and prosperously. So that's why I ask us not to be complacent, and to live that page, to not waste time. Because obviously patience is a virtue, but you also have to make your own opportunities. You also have to kick down some doors sometimes. Sometimes you gotta grab destiny by the collar, get a little squeeze in, and say, hey, you know what, buddy? I'm taking charge right now, you know? You gotta be feisty like a honey badger, you know? The honey badgers always go straight for the nuts. Everybody knows that, those vicious little bastards right there. You gotta be a little honey badger, right? That's what I'm asking you. And you, yeah, pretend you're a honey badger right now, right? Now, I heard this a long time ago when I was a kid. Maybe it was just a skit, but I just remember hearing about honey badgers being vicious and them going straight for the nuts of their prey, you know? And I want you to be that honey badger right now. I want you to pretend that you're hunting wherever honey badgers live and whatever they're hunting and whatever they hunt. And obviously, you have to be patient into becoming a good honey badger to be able to be fast enough, sneaky enough to eventually catch that prey, you know? But also, it gets to a point where you have to be patient and make those opportunities where you could employ that, you know? Go out there and search for some prey. Be patient so that all that discipline you did is employed in the best manner, but then don't be overly too cautious, you know? Because what's the point in being patient so you could wait for the very best opportunity, but then at the end of the day you took no opportunities, you know? And to be that honey badger, I want you to not just sit around on your ass all day. And hell, even that, if you are gonna sit on your ass all day, might as well be the best at sitting on your ass, you know? It's like in the movie Waterloo, when Napoleon was talking about Wellington, and he's like, this guy fights sitting on his ass, you know? Make that useful. And you're that little honey badger skedaddling, searching around, sniffing around for somebody's nuts. And you had the patience to become the best little honey badger, but you also had the initiative to go out there and employ all those disciplined habits. You had the patience to become the best hunter, but then there are times where it gets to a point where patience is, it's not that patience is no longer needed, but there are sometimes you just have to go straight for the nuts, you know? That's what I'm talking about. And it's capture those moments, but be patient for those moments, but when they come, capture it. Just like I said, you wait for the best opportunity. There's no point in doing that if you take no opportunity, right? Seize the day. Carpe diem. That's basically what I'm saying. Seize the day. Don't be complacent enough, or don't be overly complacent, and don't convince yourself too much that, because moderation is everything, you know? If you believe you are the most virtuous being, well then eventually your folly will become your virtue and you will not know the difference. And that is what I ask of us all to prevent. And so seize the day, everybody. Thank you guys for watching. Hope I'm posting this in the morning. If you're watching this in the morning, have a good morning. Watching this in the afternoon, have a good afternoon. In the evening, have a good evening. In the night, have a good night. Thank you so much for watching.